We're continuing the countdown of our top 10 favorite windows at Forest Lawn. For our final 5, we'll be exploring some buildings that we didn't see on the first half of the list, and we'll be revisiting one of our favorite locations. For our next pick, we're stepping back in time nearly 100 years. We're cheating a bit here because the choice for the number 5 spot on our list isn't a single window, but the entire ceiling of the Begonia Terrace in the Great Mausoleum. Completed in 1921, it features numerous Beaux-Arts skylights. The Beaux-Arts style was popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The style included classical and Renaissance elements, while incorporating modern materials such as iron and glass. Look closely, and you'll see pots of colorful flowers and serpentine acanthus leaf motifs borrowed from ancient Roman artwork. Instead of focusing on a specific detail, the Begonia Terrace is best appreciated when enjoying the totality of colored glass that forms a canopy for the space. At the end of the long corridor, the view is capped by a stunning image of the Annunciation, also from the early 1920s. It is rendered in opalescent glass, which has a milky iridescent quality filled with rainbow-hued streaks. The scene is a fitting grand finale for a spectacular space. The next window on our list comes from the Poets' Corridor in the Great Mausoleum. This grouping consists of 13 windows created in the mid-1920s, and each is accompanied by an excerpt of a poem. Most of the windows were made by Western Decorative Glass in Oakland, California. One of our favorites is Old Sweetheart of Mine, which shows a gentleman lost in thought, while the smoke from his pipe conjures the image of his beloved. It's difficult to choose a single window for the official number 4 spot, but there is one standout, and it's called Home Sweet Home, named for the John Howard Payne verse from the 1820s. It's the only one of the Poets' windows not made by Western Decorative Glass. It was crafted by Studio Poloni in Florence, Italy. The founder, Guido Poloni, opened his shop in 1919, and the studio is still in operation today. The rendering of light and shadow is truly masterful. From the shadows on the people's faces to the glowing light emanating from the fireplace, Home Sweet Home is a virtuoso work of art glass. For the number 3 window on our list, we're moving from the Great Mausoleum up the hill to the Hall of Crucifixion Resurrection, or HOCR. All of the windows in this building were done by Judson Studios between 1949 and 1951. The lancets, or pointy, lance-shaped windows, are stunning, as is the figure of Christ the King in bright-colored robes seated between 2 angels. But our favorite is the rose window, which measures 11 feet in diameter. Rose window is a term often applied to a circular stained glass window, especially one in a Gothic-style building such as the HOCR. A rose window resembles a multi-petaled flower, with stone tracery separating petal-shaped glass that radiates from the center. At the heart of this window is an inscription that reads Honoris Causa, which in Latin means for the sake of honor. The intricate architectural details which frame the window allow for a stunning view when admiring it from outside the building, but it is most beautiful when illuminated by sunlight and viewed from the interior. Combined with the high vaulted ceiling, it makes you feel like you've traveled back in time to the 13th century. Our next selection is located inside Forest Lawn Museum, which is directly adjacent to the Hall of Crucifixion Resurrection in Glendale. In the 1950s, Forest Lawn purchased more than a dozen windows from the collection of William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper tycoon and collector of European art. The windows, which are now part of the museum's permanent collection, range in date from the early 13th century to the late 16th century. Some of the windows were created in France, while others are from Germany, and they feature Gothic and Renaissance stylistic elements. The highlight of this eclectic grouping of stained glass is without a doubt the Durer Window. The 2 standing saints are based on drawings by Albrecht Dürer, who was a key figure in the history of European art. Durer was a painter, printmaker, draftsman, and art theorist, active in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. He was to the German Renaissance what Leonardo da Vinci was to the Italian Renaissance. His remarkable skill is evident in this self-portrait, which he drew at the age of 13, and it is also visible in Melancholia I, an enigmatic engraving created later in his career. The Durer Window, which dates to the early 16th century, is now more than 500 years old, and it is arguably the most important artwork in the collection of Forest Lawn Museum. Durer's authorship is recognizable in the fully modeled faces, expressive hands, and swelling contours of the drapery. Behind the figures, sweeping landscapes recede into the background, achieving a sense of spaciousness in the narrow windows. The subtle mastery of form in the Durer Window makes it one of our favorites. The top pick on our list will come as no surprise to anyone familiar with Forest Lawn. We've chosen the Last Supper window, which is the artistic focal point of the Great Mausoleum. Measuring nearly 30 feet wide and 15 feet tall, it is a full-scale stained glass recreation of Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece. It was carried out by two sisters, Rosa and Cecilia Caselli Moretti, seen here in the mid-1920s, as they work on the project in their studio in Perugia, Italy. After a 7-year process of painting and firing the window, it was disassembled and shipped to Glendale, where it was installed in 1931. The window is signed by the sisters in the lower left corner. Today, a marble portrait of Rosa Caselli Moretti, who is head of the studio, is on display in the Great Mausoleum. Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper was completed in 1498. It is in the refectory of the Church of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan, although it is badly damaged, with many key elements no longer visible. This contrasts greatly with Forest Lawn's window, which is not so much a replica as a translation of Leonardo's work into the vibrant medium of stained glass. The level of detail in the Last Supper window is remarkable. Observant viewers will notice scales on the fish and wine in the drinking glasses, while the range of gestures and facial expressions is impressive. The medium of stained glass adds an entirely new dimension to the scene. As colored light filters through the Last Supper window, it transforms Leonardo's static wall painting into a rich and luminous artwork. Take, for example, the windows behind the figure of Christ. In the original painting, one has the feeling that they are staring at a flat surface that has been greatly obscured. Whereas in the Last Supper window, there is the sensation that one is looking far off into the distance at a rolling landscape. Out of the hundreds of windows at Forest Lawn, this ambitious work, which was begun nearly a century ago, has stood the test of time. It remains a highlight of our art collection, and the deceptively complex nature of the scene warrants repeated viewings. Let us know in the comments if we missed any of your favorite windows, and stay tuned for more videos on Forest Lawn's art collection.